Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. DraftKings Week 16 kicks off tomorrow. So we got one day for this video. I'm going to spend the next hour talking to chat, going over all of their questions for this 10-game slate this weekend for Week 16 NFL DFS. We're going to look at cash game lineups. We'll take tournament questions, allocations, what we're going to do about this super cold, frigid Christmas weather, all of it. I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell. We're going to have content all off season, all throughout the playoffs for daily fantasy as well. And I'm going to do some new type of content here on the main channel in the months of February through August to try and keep you guys engaged and have some fun during the off season. So I appreciate you guys being here as always, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Smiz Gang Listener League is posted for Week 16 on the Saturday main slate. So make sure that you show up for the Saturday main slate and join this league now. It's got 1,700 people in it. It fills by tomorrow morning at kickoff. If we don't fill it, they're probably going to make it smaller for Week 17. It's $10 entry, 3 max. The only way to get into this no-rake best tournament on DraftKings League is to go to smizzle.tv/links and go to the Smiz Gang League and click that. You might as well click everything else while you're there, the charity, the Discord. Make sure you're a part of that Discord group and everything else, and jump in that league today. I'll shout out the top 10 finishers on the recap video for Week 16 on Monday on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel right here on YouTube. Yes, I have multiple YouTube channels. I've got like 5 of them. I don't know, go click and subscribe to all of them. Let's bring in the chat. We'll get to their questions really quickly. Christmas morning gift opening cast. No, I'm not going to be doing that. I will do an Anti-Tinkercast on Saturday before the slate. Usually that's the Sunday for the Sunday slate, 45 minutes right before lock. I'm live on Twitch answering questions for the last 45 minutes before 10 a.m. Pacific time. So it's before 1 p.m. right before kickoff. Last 45 minutes on Twitch, twitch.tv/Al_Smizzle, or just smizzle.tv/live. We'll take you directly there. Usually we go over like some of the cash game locks right about now. I'm going to tell you first and foremost, I'm not, this is not a McDonald's slate for me. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I am not loving it. I don't think that the value is great. I think that there is value. I don't think that it is fantastic value. I don't think that there is hang your hat plays. And I'm interested to see kind of where things can go. I do think that we're going to start things in cash with, let's say, I'm going to go with 1 or 2 guys. You're either going to go with Daniel Jones against Minnesota at 5,600, who I think is viable based on how much he runs the football. People forget this, but they run a lot of design runs. There's not very many people for him to throw to. The problem is there isn't very much upside with this play. He does not typically have the ability. He does have a bunch of rushing touchdowns, but like multiple touchdown passes are hard because wide receivers matter so much. I do think he's in play because he does have that high floor. He did not get there against Washington, but against Minnesota, that may open up a little bit more efficiency through the air, even though he does not have a ton of great guys to pass to. But I believe that the highest played cash game quarterback is going to be all the way down here at 4,800, and it's going to be it's going to be Minshew. He's the guy. Minshew Magic is the guy you're playing at 4,800. Yes, Dallas is a tough defense, but this game should go. In the games that he has started for Philadelphia, and not with this team, not with the great receivers that they have now, he averages over 17 fantasy points per game. I think that that's where you're starting. I also think at running back, personally, I think it's a team jam him in week. I think that this is where you're playing. I think it's these 2 cats right here, Christian McCaffrey, for what he can do, and definitely Derrick Henry, the primary owner of the Houston Texans team. He averages 196 yards rushing, 197 yards per game against them in his last 5 games against. It's absurd how well he does. And even though there is not a Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, they're going to run it with him 30 times, and Houston is just not equipped to stop him. Now, if you wanted to come off of this and go to something a little cheaper, that's fine. And then at wide receiver, I don't know if there's just a way. We have to wait for the ins and outs for Saturday, which aren't out yet. I have not seen very many of them so far on Friday morning, but we will get the inactives. And as we get some inactives, there's going to be some value that opens up as players fill in everywhere else. There's a ton of cheap wide receivers, but none of them really stand out as a must-play option. At tight end, I kind of feel like you're going from, I don't know, let's say like for cash, Dalton Schultz or Hawkinson if you're paying up. But I think a lot of people are going to come all the way down depending on whether they're going to go down here to like 27 for Will Dissly if if Noah Fant doesn't play, I think Fant is fine. I think Schultz is fine. I think that this is going to be a lot of what the cash game lineups look like, and you're going to have a lot of money left to spend, or enough money left to spend, considering that you're going to spend like less than 2,500 on a defense. That leaves you with 21,000 to spend on these 4 spots, which is more than enough based on how this slate breaks down. So that's kind of where I believe the cash game lineups kind of start this week. Really high volume running backs and everything else. The elephant in the room is the weather, right? So I had Kyle build up kind of I asked him about, give me all the games that were posted under 5 degrees for the last 10 years. The problem is there aren't that many. There were 2 on record on Next Gen Stats of games that were played at under 5 degrees the last decade. So he tried to mesh with it and found us 13 of them, maybe push the degrees up, maybe under 10 degrees. This is what we found. And it's not going to mesh with the narrative that you've been told. So like, I did miss a chance with the white elephant in the room. Damn it. I suck at my job. Outdoors since 2013, under 15 degrees, right? Like over 60 degrees, 235 passing yards game. So like it takes a hit, but like no more than from 33 degrees, right? Like it's just kind of, it's only a 13 game sample that we're working with. Rushing yards are in line. They do go up, right? So like there's a little bit of a narrative that people run more, but like it's not the pass rate that's a problem. They're still challenging downfield under 15 degrees. They're still playing the same amount of offensive plays per game, same on yards per game. So like, I don't know, as long as there's not precipitation or massive wind that's going to be a problem to knock things down, I'm not sure that this is anything that we really need to worry too much. Like it's just added variance. Now, the one game I think that we do need to avoid is probably this New Orleans and Cleveland game, but you weren't playing that game anyway. You just weren't. It's got a total of 7 points expected. I mean, close. It's like 30, but like that's basically 7. Houston, Tennessee, yellow. Anything yellow is fine. Orange, Buffalo, Chicago, smorgasbord of ugly weather there. Wind is the most impactful, right? Sustained winds around 20, gusts to 35. Right, that's a problem. But like you have one team that wants to run the hell out of the football, and another guy that throws the ball 2,000 miles an hour with the highest RPMs ever and isn't affected by winds like most other quarterbacks. Now, it might affect them on massive downfield throws, but like Josh Allen has played in weather and wind before and posted 30-point DraftKings games before. So I'm not really that worried about it. Like I'm not spamming Josh Allen into lineups here, but like it's not something I'm fearing to completely stay away from. Seattle, Kansas City, yellow, that's fine. It's just cold, right? Like it's going to be cold. Maybe guys drop the ball. I don't know. Maybe it hurts to play. But like I don't think that we can draw this massive narrative like we can with games that have puddles on the field, games that have massive wind, 30 miles an hour and everything else. So deal with that as you may. That's it. Is it wise to stick to 3 running back only in flex? For what? I need context. For cash, I do think it is very likely a 3 cash game. Talk you into or out of Joe Burrow this week? You're not hearing much. Joe Burrow's fine. I have no problem with Joe Burrow. Like he's not somebody that I think we have to shy away from. He doesn't need to be chalk to go off. You don't need to fear him when he's chalk, and you don't really need to fear him in games where, you know, people think it's bad. New England is a middle of the pack defense against the pass. Like Joe Burrow's fine. But like when you're playing a quarterback, specifically in tournaments, you need access to a 30-point day. So can they get that? You don't think the Patriots can push him? They can make big plays. Aguilar's made some big plays this year. Stevenson looks like a stud. Would you avoid Kamara from the North? I haven't played Kamara very often. I played him last week because he was in a very good spot. I still think he's going to get volume. He is against a bad team. There's just not a lot of touchdowns that expect to fall out of that game. DJ with Sun God bring back in cash. You don't need correlation in cash. Okay, that's the first thing. You don't need to avoid correlation. Cash is more about stuffing as many points per dollar as you can within your lineup with the combination of upside. So you want points per dollar with a ceiling. You want floor to median expectation that also has a ceiling. Both of those guys have a good floor and a good ceiling. I think that Amon-Ra is not the best $7,500 to $8,500 wide receiver on a points per dollar, on a median basis, on a over expectation basis. I think DJ Moore is just fine. Hodgins at 4,100. I mean, I don't know. They're all meh. DraftKings really jacked the pricing this week again. Either that, I don't know. It's DraftKings jacking the pricing. I don't want to blame them. But it's that sort of a situation once again where the value wide receivers aren't going to project that great. And it could be because the projections are overestimating for weather, or it could be that because it's a 10-game slate that we're looking at players that just aren't as good at their position. We're dealing with a slate where the Jaguars wide receivers were off that slate. We're dealing with Raiders off the slate. We're dealing with, Broncos, Rams is irrelevant, but like no Dolphins receivers, no Packers receivers, no Buccaneers or Cardinals receivers, no Chargers receivers. So that's a lot of that mid-range, that 6K to 7K, 6K to 7,500 receivers are on those teams that provide us value. Guys like Godwin, guys like Keenan Allen, they're always in that range. So the value plays are kind of rough this week. They're highly variant plays. Is that why Fantasy Labs is shoving Quez Watkins down your throat? I think that Quez is an interesting play this week. I don't think Quez Watkins is going to play as many snaps or run as many routes as he has in the weeks where Dallas Goedert was out. So like, it's possible that there's a merit-based promotion. Dallas Goedert went out somewhere around here, right? Against Washington or Indy, somewhere around there he went. I forget exactly the day, but like it's around there. Since then, you look at what he did before: 40, 30, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 30, 66, 37, 22, 48 snaps. Like he was playing more snaps, and more specifically, because Dallas Goedert was out, when he was on the field, he was getting targeted a much higher percentage than he was earlier in the season. 5, 6, 5, 6. So this last 4-game sample is very good for Quez Watkins, and he is certainly a boomer bust play. He is a downfield threat. He is a high ADOT play. He is not somebody that would ever get near a cash game lineup for me. But you look at the games where Goddard played this season: 2, 1, 1, 4, 1, 1, 2. He is a complete boomer bust play with an absolute zero floor. His floor could be 0, and he could start and finish the game. And that's what we've seen from him in the games where Dallas Goedert also played, because now you have AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, and the running backs to throw to, and he just he's not great. You need a running back for the Rainmaker sweater contest. I sold a lot of my sweater cards for profit, so I don't have very many sweater cards remaining. I have plenty of cards for that main slate. I'm trying to bring up the sweater game so that we can, because I'm not doing a Rainmakers video this week. We talked about it yesterday on the stream. I'll bring up that contest right here. It's a $400,000 Rainmakers contest where you have to have the holiday cards to play. So let's not show only my cards. The problem is you have to have the sweater card, quarterback. And these guys are not like, there's not a lot on that slate. Guys got traded off the team. Guys got injured or traded off those teams. Guys got injured and whatever else is there. So like at running back, here's the top options: Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, who is now in a 50-50 timeshare with White, James Conner, but against Tampa Bay. Like Aaron Jones is, and like he's in a time split too. Running back sucks on this slate. It just does. Lat Murray, not in a timeshare, really low expectation game. He may be the number 1 scoring running back by the time the weekend is over. Williams is hurt. Mostert against Green Bay, sure, but like Jeff Wilson Jr. is back. AJ Dillon, if you want him. Rashad White. Like there's not much else. You're hoping that a guy scores 2 touchdowns. You're just kind of betting on touchdowns when you're playing Rainmakers this week. Breaking news: Jaguars have a 69% chance to make the playoffs. Nice. Who do I like best in Rainmakers given the current weather concerns? Diggs, Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or CeeDee Lamb? So when it comes to Rainmakers, I typically stick to as close to projections as I can, because there's no salaries, so you don't have to worry about it. So if you're looking at projections, I want to see who's got the highest median and ceiling projection, who is in the best touchdown scoring environment. Out of that group is probably CeeDee Lamb, right? All things considered, an indoor game, runs a lot of his routes out of the slot, isn't going to catch Bradbury and Slay on every single one of his snaps. It's going to be interesting to see how they utilize him in a game that they need to score touchdowns. He's probably your best bet. The other guys are similar. It's not like Amon-Ra St. Brown is bad. He's going to project very similarly to CeeDee Lamb, but it is in an outdoor game, dealing with dealing with road golf. It just kind of, it's just that it's that type of situation. Like if you're asking me to split hairs between 4 guys who are all ridiculously talented wide receivers, I'm going to go with the one that projects for the highest floor ceiling combination. Wide receiver 1, so bad for Dallas. Is Brown down because of Minshew? I don't think he's down. I like AJ Brown this. Which cheap wide receiver do you prefer in cash? Goodwin, Shaheed, or Robinson? Probably Robinson, then Goodwin. There's nobody left in Baltimore. He could get 8-9 targets. And in cash, that's all you're really asking for, right? In cash, you just want to stack up as many opportunities as you can. And they're going to have to throw it sometime. They're not going to run it. If they run 60 plays, because it's going to be a low play, both teams want to run the football. It's going to be a shorter game. There's going to be less offensive opportunities. So, like, that's, you're looking at like 7, 8, 9 targets for him. You just may not do all that much with him. But in DraftKings scoring, it's very easy to kind of get there. If he has like 7 catches for 70 yards, that's 14 fantasy points. More than enough at his salary. Favorite value GPP wide receiver? It would probably be something that is tied. I haven't thought about it yet because I don't think that there is. I told you up front, this slate is really bad, and it's specifically bad at wide receiver, you know, for a variety of reasons. So like in tournaments, a lot of what you have to consider, if you're just trying to build a good tournament lineup, figure out what is the standard roster build in cash. Okay. So what's the standard roster build? If the standard roster build is going to play 2 of these 3 guys, and I do think that the majority of cash game lineups are going to play Bing, Bing, or where'd he go? Bang. I think these 3 running backs are going to run through an awful lot of cash game lineups. Either all 3 or 2 of them. Whether it's 2 of 3 or all 3, you're going to see a lot of McCaffrey, Henry, Cook, and the one that you might see the least of is McCaffrey. So if everyone on the planet is going to pay up for running backs, if everybody is spending a ton of money at running back, then if you want to get contrarian, guess what you should do, right? Christian McCaffrey right now projected at 36% in tournaments. Derrick Henry, 28. Dalvin Cook, 22. Saquon Barkley, 21 at 7,900. Ramondre Stevenson, 20.5 at 7,100. Like, everybody's paying up at running back this week. So guess what? If everybody's paying up at running back, you want to know what the best thing to do is? That. Just do that. You're already different. That's going to force you to play at least one cheaper running back and force you onto guys in this range. Maybe somebody like him. Maybe somebody like him. It's going to force you onto a differentiated lineup build. As it forces you onto a differentiated lineup build, now all of a sudden, your entire build is going to have a lower collective ownership than somebody who builds through their running backs at high dollar. You want to really get different? You will have a way different build, not just at this position, because ownership is never just about that one position. Because somebody's going to probably tell me Jefferson's going to be, people are going to have Jefferson this week. So like, you're not getting off the chalk if you do that. But you are, because you're not playing into 2 other chalk pieces. If you want to be a chalky lineup this week, this is your chalky tournament lineup. I'm going to play Team Jam 'em in, and I'm going to be different from everybody. You're not going to be different from everybody because everybody's paying for these guys. And when you pay for these guys, it's leading you to the same group of wide receivers and tight ends and quarterbacks that are still available to you. So it's never about one piece. It's always about the combination of pieces that you're putting together, which is why double stack bring back ends up working so well in tournaments. Obviously, there is correlation, right? Obviously, there is correlation working for you. If Geno Smith has a really, really, really good day, then also DK Metcalf probably had a very good day, or one of his receivers had a really good day. And maybe Noah Fant also had a good day. So now you've got the league leader in end zone targets and a guy who's seen a lot, and him here. And then we need somebody on Kansas City. So I don't know. Let's bring it back with him and or him. So now you got 5 pieces that fit together, and the rest of your lineup is not going to look as chalky because some people will have this combination, many won't. Same thing goes for Minnesota. If you're going to stack through Minnesota and the Giants, right? If everybody's going to be on Dalvin Cook in this game, how do we get away from Dalvin Cook? Well, you play Kirk Cousins into Jefferson and then pick another play. Whether that's going to be Hawkinson, whether that's going to be Thielen, or whether you want to play KJ Osborne, who's had a really big game last week. If you do this and then you bring it back with anybody on the other side, you are immediately different from a vast majority of the field. Right? Somebody mentioned Hodgins earlier, so let's just plug Hodgins. I don't know if he's the right play or not. 4.664 his last few games. Touchdown dependent, right? Richie James is in play again this week. 3.9K. No matter which guy you play, you're immediately different because Jefferson may be 20%, but Hodgins won't be, and Hawkinson won't be. And you know that he has the ceiling and has seen a ton of targets. So like, it's never about the one piece. When it comes to lineup building, you need to build an entire lineup. I can't play Derrick Henry because 35% of the field is going to be on Derrick Henry. Can you get different somewhere else? You certainly can. You can play chalk in a tournament and still win. You cannot play 8 pieces of chalk and still win unless it's a week where all the chalk attacks, right? Unless it's that sort of week. If Derrick Henry goes off for 35 fantasy points and Christian McCaffrey goes off for 35 plus fantasy points and nobody that's 6,500 or less goes for 20 plus fantasy points, yeah, you're gonna have to have the chalk, but you probably got different somewhere else, right? When chalk attacks weeks, it's the worst. It depends. I mean, if I'm on it, it's pretty great, right? Like there's weeks that I will overload the chalk. I will try and outweigh the field on chalk at a position or two because I know I'm going to get different somewhere else. ETR produced an article about product ownership, right? I force optimizers to keep me under 30%, or sorry, 130%, but I also force it to force at least one player under 10% into every single lineup, which automatically brings down the product ownership of a lineup instead of the sum ownership of that lineup. What is chalk? Like the definition, like what does it mean? A very popular play. One of the favorite plays on the week for the field. Somebody who's 30 to 50% played in a tournament. Typically speaking, daily fantasy is a very projection driven game right now. So meaning that people are going to play the guys who on a point per dollar basis are always the best plays. Are we doing 5 under 5 today? So I always record the 5 under 5 on this show and then it goes out Saturday morning really early. I'm planning on doing it. I have a thumbnail. I have my 5 players. I haven't figured out when I'm going to release it yet. Maybe we'll just release both today, just back to back, the 2 time. Any idea how many quarterbacks I might play tomorrow? I don't know. Haven't decided yet. I don't build lineups until like Friday night. Usually I build them Friday night and then Saturday I don't do anything. And then, you know, Saturday night, I'll get to building lineups, and Sunday, whatever. Chat group's been talking about 5 under 5. You're about to write if you said I wasn't doing. You say, I mean, I've got them. They're right here. They're in the book. It's just a matter of when I'm going to reveal the thing. Last week I wasn't in town, so I couldn't do it. That's why I had Headlock made a graphic that we put up in Discord. If you aren't a member of the Discord, why aren't you a member of the Discord? smizzle.tv/Discord. Make sure you get your butt in there. Especially if you're a channel member here on YouTube or a subscriber on Twitch, you get access to all the VIP rooms, which is basically where the entirety of both communities hangs out. The YouTube people and the Twitch people all kind of come together. The YouTube people, their names turn red when they verify that they are subbed to the channel, or not subbed because it's different. Channel member, $5 a month. Their names turn red, Twitch subs turn blue, and they all kind of commingle and talk about strategies and lineups and plays and everything else in Discord constantly for every single sport. It's the best value add, in my opinion, the best Discord community in the daily fantasy space. But I will have a 5 under 5. Do I like Goodwin? He's been yeah. I mean, Lockett's out. Those targets have to go somewhere. Those routes have to go somewhere. Those snaps have to go somewhere. But he has a little Q by his name. He is questionable now. And so is Noah Fant. So as always, I will repeat the same thing that I always repeat. If it is structural, it's going to be a problem. If it's something that can be solved by the fantastic drugs that they have on game day at the NFL level, where it's not structural, it's a quote pain management issue. Anytime they say it's a pain management issue, it means we're going to shoot them up with whatever we got and they're not going to feel any pain for 5 hours. They'll be fine. Structural issues like a broken leg where you can't physically stand on it no matter how many drugs they give you, your leg will just crumble, then they can't play. It looks like Goodwin is going to play. Fant, I don't know if he's going to play or not, but if he plays, both are just fine. They present different pluses and minuses. If you play Fant, you're playing into a position where at tight end where you can cut some salary and get somewhere else. Carol said he should play. Yes, I agree. You want game day shoot 'em up every day. Oof. It's not a great way to go through life. Tank Williams, like a friend of mine who does fantasy football content for Yahoo, is like, yeah, they'd give you that shot, game day shot, and you wouldn't feel anything. Down Bad Dom, thank you for the gifted sub. Appreciate that. Guys, if you got a gifted sub in the channel, make sure that you say thank you. Happy with just getting a Diet Coke. I do like Diet Coke. Diet Coke is fun. Who would be Minshew's go-to guy? No idea. Absolutely no idea. I think last year Goddard had a couple of big games with him, but everything is up in the air. You know? The teams that Minshew performed with, the players that he played with when he was averaging those 17 fantasy points per game plus in the games he started for the Philadelphia Eagles, did not include A.J. Brown. So guys like Devontae Smith, who also was a rookie, who wasn't playing opposite of A.J. Brown, and was the alpha receiver on that team, and Jalen Reagor was on the other side. Like, this is a different Eagles offense. Brown's going to get his 10 plus targets? Very possibly. Specifically if they play from behind in this game. If there is a game script that is going to force them to have to drop back on like 65 to 70% of their offensive snaps, there's going to be 35 to 45 attempts out of that Philly offense through the air, and Minshew can sling it. It's not like he can't throw. He's got 3 guys that he can go to reliably. A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and Devontae Smith, who you guys know I think is fantastic. So it's a little bit unpredictable. Zen Tiger, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Guys, if you got a sub in the chat, make sure that you say thank you. Do I trust any wide receiver on the Giants? Trust is a very strong word. I don't trust any. I have not trusted any of the wide receivers on the Giants forever. Like this whole season, and last year too, I do not trust Giants wide receivers because they don't, like, Daniel Jones is fine. Saquon Barkley is fine. The pass catchers, who knows? Maybe Bellinger is the best one. Tight end. That kind of would be a fun and also sick stack. I wonder if we can get there. Like, what if we plugged Bellinger in at 3,300, right? Push and pray that maybe he scores a touchdown. What if we did that, this, and then a little bit of this, and we have 4,700 remaining? Oh, you'd be different. That would be different. Like, I'm tying somebody to him. If I'm playing in a tournament, if you're playing Daniel Jones in a tournament, okay? This goes for every quarterback. We have had this discussion so many times. Anytime Daniel Jones has a tournament winning day, this day, 29 fantasy points. He completed 27 passes. It was against Detroit. He had a touchdown pass, threw for 341 yards. This day, ran for 107, still completed 19 passes for 202. No other day has he been a viable tournament guy. If you're playing a quarterback in tournaments, you're playing for the 30-plus point day. So if you're playing for the 30-plus point day, how is that going to look in the box score? Usually, it does not look like nobody gets dragged along with it, right? Pass catchers get dragged along when a quarterback has a 30-plus point day. Vikings are 26 against quarterbacks. Right. That's why Daniel Jones is popping in projections, because they're a very bad defense. The easiest way to get access to the Giants, because there's so many question marks in the passing game, Daniel Jones does run the ball enough, but the easiest click is here. Like, this is the easiest click. If you want access to the Giants offense, we're like, well, Saquon's going to get 20 to 25 opportunities here, so I'm just going to play Saquon, right? He's got big playability, big splash ability. We have not seen it in the last month and a half. Does look like he has kind of worn down and been tired after really popping early in the year. He has not broken off big ones, mostly because he's running against super heavy boxes because they can't throw the freaking football. Wide receivers matter. They do a lot of things. They make quarterbacks better. They get separation to make quarterbacks' efficiency better. They can pull safeties deeper away from the line of scrimmage, which helps, which really helps running backs. Like, if you look at running backs who are having unpredictably really good seasons, it's probably on teams that have very good wide receivers and are running mostly against some of the lightest box combinations in the league. But Saquon's the easiest click. Doesn't mean he's the right click, right? From a hindsight perspective. At, 8 p.m. on Saturday night, Saquon might be the right play in hindsight, and he might not be the right play. It might be Bellinger. It might be Richie James. It might be Slayton. It might be, who knows? But that's the problem with those 4 pass catchers right now on the Giants, is that there is no way to know who is going to get 7 catches. Big Bear, welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while, man. Appreciate the 40-month resub. Any chance the Vikings phone it in this week? I mean, teams don't do that. No player in the league and no coach in the league and no coaching staff in the league is trying to put bad tape out there. Not one. Nobody goes that these are professional athletes. They are real people. This is not Madden. They don't go out there to like take a dump on the field on purpose. It happens sometimes. But if you put bad tape out there, you cost yourself money on your next contract, many of whom that is this summer. They are playing to win the game. They're playing to not just to win the game. They are playing to win every rep. You know, Vikings did last week. No, they didn't. They can't. They had the largest comeback in history. They're just a really bad defense. You know, they're not trying to lose. They weren't trying to get down 33 points. They're just bad. You know, they're not good. It's not that they aren't playing hard. It's not that they're tanking or trying to lose. Thoughts on a Fields naked stack with a double Buffalo bring back? So like, yes, there are certain times that I will break the typical rules at quarterback. For the most part, I will double stack every quarterback. But we've reached a time where guys like Justin Fields can have game-breaking days and not bring guys along with them enough because they're getting running back usage. There has never been a quarterback who has run the ball as many times per game as Justin Fields is on a per game basis since week 6. The previous record was Lamar Jackson, who I believe averaged like 12 carries per game. They're running him 18, 13, 15, 14. Like, nobody does this. And it's not going to end up being like the highest per game or attempts on a year because they only ran him like 8 times a game, which is like normal for a running quarterback. That's what you project for. Like, before a season starts, I made a tweet 2 years ago about Jalen Hurts before the 2021 season because he played those 3-4 games at the end of the year in 2020. And it was my assertion that Jalen Hurts was very undervalued in season-long drafts on the premise that he's going to run it 8+ times a game. And people are like, you can't project 8, 9, 10 rushing attempts per game for a quarterback because they just don't do that. I'm like, but he does. And all of last year, I was begging. Do you guys remember this on Twitter? I was begging them to just stop letting him run 4 times a game. Let him be him and run it 8 to 12 times every game. That is the best way for him to be effective. And now they're finally doing it. And guess what? He looks really freaking effective. I kind of think they should sit him. There's no upside to playing him right now. The front office should just deactivate him moving forward. Because like, you don't want him to, what if he run, like, not that like you can get hurt in the pocket, right? Even like Lamar Jackson last year got hurt on a passing play, and this year he got hurt on a passing play. It wasn't because he was running. But like, the last thing you want is an Achilles or an ACL or an MCL or something that he needs surgery and is going to miss half of next season. He's proven everything he's got to prove. Now go buy the kid an offensive line and go draft him some wide receivers because there's absolutely no good wide receivers in this free agent class. So like, trade for a wide receiver like Philly did. Get him some pass catchers, right? Trade for a wide receiver like Miami did, like Tyreek. Trade for somebody like A.J. Brown. Somebody comes up, you just give them assets and you bring in a guy for Justin Fields and you draft another one. Give him dudes that make a difference because guys like Claypool and Mooney are wide receiver 3s. So like, he hasn't dragged guys along. So when his price was cheaper, like down in this range, I was doing just that. I was using Fields as a secondary stack to kind of come around and get to this question, which is what was asked, not my rant on Justin Fields. But like, if you ask me about Justin Fields, I'm going to rant. But like, I was using Fields as a secondary stack. I was doing that. He was essentially being utilized as a running back who could complete 12 passes per game. But he did have a couple games where he dragged guys along, like Komet. You know, they just don't get very much. But like, Komet's getting enough. But the upside, he's got to throw like 3 touchdowns. And he's just not throwing it 35 times a game. A guy like Justin Fields, yeah, I'm double stacking Justin Fields all the time. Or not Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, who's not playing this week. I'm double stacking him all the time. Even in this game where he ran for 3 touchdowns and threw for none, right? He still completed 22 passes. This is full PPR, y'all. Completed 22 passes for 315. And if we take a look at who his wide receivers were on that day, if I could isolate to Philly, you would see that A.J. Brown had a 30 fantasy point day with no touchdowns because he threw for over 300 yards, 181 of which went to him, and Devontae Smith had 20 points. So your double stack definitely worked with Jalen Hurts throwing 0 touchdowns because it's more about points, 100-yard bonuses, all that sort of thing. Now, if Justin Fields becomes utilized next year like Jalen, I'm going to be double stacking Justin Fields every time if he has viable alpha level pass catches. But right now, no, I agree with you. You can be more creative. If they're only going to throw 12 or 15 completions, it's totally fine to play off the rushing ability and then correlate them with somebody on the other team. Thoughts on double tight end this week in GPP? I do think that it is more viable this week because there is not a lot of value at wide receiver under 5,000. So looking in this range, Thielen 53, DJ Moore at 55, and Juju Smith-Schuster at 58. These two guys are very viable value plays. I believe they're both cash game viable as well as being tournament viable so long as you correlate them through something on the other side. But now we're getting into question mark central. Adam Thielen, there's 4 guys. Yes, he can have a big game with 10 targets or 8 targets, but he can also have a 4-target game in a game where they were down 33 and they threw for 460 yards and he had 41. Still got a touchdown and bailed you out. But like, you have a massive floor ceiling differential here with Adam Thielen. Slayton, who the hell knows what's coming from him? Massive floor ceiling variation. DPJ, the total in that game just went up to 7.5. Big ceiling, who knows with the floor. Gabe Davis, maybe the biggest boom bust player in the league. 9-6, 9-7, 35 on 3 catches. Like, oof. Gabe Davis is the biggest oof at wide receiver this year. Tyler Boyd, number 3-4 option. Maybe it's a good spot for him again this week, but like no more than 5-6 targets pretty much any game. Jacoby Myers, hopefully he doesn't throw an interception on the last play. Drake London, love the volume. I do like the volume, 4,800, but really low totaled game there. And then it's all garbage. Chris Moore, you're getting volume, but is it good volume? Like, there's nothing in this range. KJ Osborne, don't expect 16 targets again. Expect 5, and you'll project him a lot better. Curtis Samuel up against San Francisco. I hate playing guys against San Francisco. So, like, look at all the guys in this range. Think about what their median and ceiling is. You got to come down to like here, 3,900. Guys like Richie James. We saw Dotson have 2 good games in a row. I kind of like him. Again, I hate playing guys into San Francisco. Westbrook Akine, I'm not playing wide receivers on Tennessee, although it would be contrarian. I just don't know that they're going to pass. But like, it's ugly this week. But then look at the tight ends in that same range. So if you're looking for value in that range, Kittle's 5,300. Hawkinson, 4,900. You're getting a ton of targets and red zone usage. Dallas Goedert, you knew that he was liked in those games last year with Minshew as the starter. Cole Kmet, David Njoku, again, total of 7.5. Dalton Schultz, 4,200. I like Dalton Schultz at 42 from a median and a ceiling projection point of view, better than most of those wide receivers that are priced up to 1,000 more than him. Johnson does nothing but score touchdowns this season. Like, I like all of these guys better. So yeah, I think that it's a week that you can play tight end and flex in tournaments. If you limit it to specific ones, you'd have to build. If you're building by hand, keep it to a specific group of guys that have ceiling opportunities. And if you're building through a lineup builder, you're going to have to build a player group of all the cheap tight ends and make sure that you're only using one of them in a lineup, because you don't want them to be doubled up. You don't want like Bellinger, Disley in a lineup together, because your ceiling from those 2 roster spots is like 20. That's the ceiling total. Not one of them getting 20, but like your ceiling is 20 from that duo, and that's going to cost you tournaments. It's very hard to do that. You know, Miami's not on the main slate. Do I like Tua more than Geno for cash? Are you playing like full weekend, like Saturday, Sunday slate? Yeah, probably Tua over Gio. But like, if you're playing full weekend, then you're playing Minshew. Do I like Marshall this week? He's all right. He's not great. He's a punt, right? He's a tournament dart throw punt. He would go into that bucket. If I had a dart throw tournament bucket, that's the bucket he'd be in. Him, they'd be in that group, like in the tournament dart throw bucket. For those of you wondering why I beeped, I'm not allowed to say his name. It's the name that shall not be spoken. He was redacted last year. He remains redacted now. Shaheed, yeah, he's fine. Again, tournament dart throw. He's totally a bucket guy. Yeah, the redacted shirts are definitely in the store if you guys wanted to check that out. How many tournament punts do I allow? Aguilar for tournaments? Yeah, he's fine. The name that shall not be spoken. On that note, guys, I'm going to break out here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Drop a like on the video and look out for another video there.
He's a legend.